Okay, this is worksheet number 4. Systems of Linear Equations Part 2. We did Part 1 last week. So first is a warm-up, and I'm going to do one problem from the warm-up for you. You're looking at 3y minus 10x equals 15. So here we are solving for basically any two numbers that will make this work. So, for instance, you pick any value for x or y, then solve. I pick x equals 0 because it's easy. You can pick any number for x and y. So if I pick x equals 0, all we gotta do is we just gotta rewrite this as 3, and instead of 3y minus 10, and instead of x, I'm going to put times 0. Okay, don't forget that if there's a no operation sign between number and a variable, it's always a multiplication, and equals 15. Now, anything times 0 is 0, as we know it. So we're looking at 3y minus 0 equals 15, or simply put, 3y equals 15. When we divide both sides by 3, and you get y equals 5. Now, that's not the answer. The answer is two numbers. X equals 0, y equals 5. Think about this as a coordinate point where first number is x value, second one is y. That's your answer. Question number 5, example number 5. You get a system of equations, y equals 1 and minus x plus 3y equals 5. So step 1 here is you need to plug in y, because y is already given to you. Y equals 1. So instead of y, we're going to put 1. So you're looking at minus x plus 3 times 1 equals 5. Then, simply put, it's minus x plus 3 equals 5. Now, we need to undo this equation. So if it's a plus 3, we need a minus 3 from both sides. You're looking now at minus x equals 5 minus 3 is 2. Minus x equals 2 is good, but we need to find what x is. So you divide both sides by -1, so that we can cross out these two negatives. Okay, so now you have x equals, and 2 divided by -1 is -2. There you go. Problem solved. So let's recap the steps real quick. So first step is we plug in x, and step 2, solve the equation. For x. And now we need to step 3. If y equals 1, x equals -2, we need to write down answer. So answer is actually this. X equals -2, y equals 1. And of course, we got to put those in parentheses. Okay. Example 6. Same steps. You're looking at 3x minus y equals 12, x equals 3. Those are, again, two equations. And since x equals 3, now instead of this x, we're going to write down 3. So now you're looking at 3 times 3 minus y equals 12. 3 times 3 is 9 minus y equals 12. Then you need to isolate the variable by subtracting 9 from both sides. Since 9 here was positive, to undo it, we need to make it a negative. Now you're looking at -y equals 3. Same thing. If you have a negative y here, to make it a positive, divide both sides by -1. Cancel out these negatives. y equals -3. And here's how you're going to write down your answer. First number is going to be a x, then y. We're going alphabetically here. So x equal 3. How do we know it? Because of this. Y equals -3, because we just discovered it. So in a sense, x was given to us, y needed to be discovered. Example 17 is by far my favorite example so far. Now we're looking at a system. Now, sometimes you guys will see this sign in front of the system. We're not putting here, I'm not putting it in my worksheets, but this is common to have a system. Just telling you that there are two equations that you need to consider. Now, first equation, 4x minus 8y equals 16. There's big numbers, there's a lot to worry about. So we're going to leave it for now. Now, bottom equation is pretty simple. Y equals -2x minus 7. Now, y stands alone, which is a good thing. Now, we can take this y, and we're going to plug it in. So we're going to write down the step. Plug in y to the first equation. Okay, so we're going to take this and we're going to substitute it in for this y. So I'm going to write down this as 4x minus 8. And instead of y, we're going to write down what y was given to us. Minus 2x minus 7 equals 16. Now, all we got to do is solve this one, and let's go ahead and undo the parenthesis first. So it's going to be 4x, and then we're looking at this minus 8 needs to be distributed into this term, into this parenthesis, right? So multiply by these two terms. So minus 8 times minus 2x is a plus or positive 16x. Minus 8 times minus 7 is a positive, because negative times a negative is a positive, 56 equals 16, okay? Now, in this case, I need to do combine. Guess what? You're right. Like terms. We're combining like terms. In this case, like terms are 4x and positive 16x. So 4x plus 16x is 20x plus 56 equals 16. Now, this is pretty straightforward now. It's a two-step equation. We're subtracting 56 from both sides. Okay, so now we're looking at 20x equals 16 minus 56 is negative 40. Okay, and now last step was multiplication. To undo multiplication, you divide both sides by 20. So you're looking at x equals negative 40 divided by 20, negative 2. That's the answer for x, but that's not the answer to the problem. That's just step 1. Okay, so we're going to write down answer. And for x, we're going to write down negative 2, comma. Now, question is, what is y? We know that x equals negative 2, but we do not know what y is. So what you got to do is you're going to take the value of x that we know and plug it into any of these two equations. The easiest one to pick would probably be this one, the bottom one, okay? So I'm going to move my paper right here, and we'll go right about here, okay? So we're going to kind of go this way. So I'm going to rewrite y equals negative 2x minus 7. And instead of x, guess what? Instead of this x, I'm going to write down negative 2. So now my equation is going to be y equals negative 2 times negative 2 minus 7. And let's do the multiplication next, right? Multiplication is y equals negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4 minus 7. 4 minus 7 is negative 3. That's it. The answer is negative 2 comma negative 3. We found out what the answer is. Now, question 26. You can see things are getting progressively more interesting. In this case, we are not given anything like x equals something, y equals something. Not good. So we need to solve for any variable. And you got to decide which variable is easiest to solve. And I would say pick the one that stands alone, okay? Preferably the one that stands alone. In our case, look at all the variables here, okay? We got x, 3y, 7x, and 8y. The one that stands alone here is this x from the first equation. I'm going to write down here equation 1 and 2. You don't have to do that, just so I can kind of refer back to it. So now, let's just rewrite equation 1, okay? So equation 1 goes something like this. X plus 3y equals 6. And once again, our goal is to solve for any variable. In this case, x is by itself, so we need to solve for x. So first step we're going to do is move the 3y to the other side. Therefore, these 3y's are gone. X equals 6 minus 3y. From this point on, all the way till the end of your math careers, I don't want you to put the constant first. So we're going to rewrite it as x equals minus 3y plus 6. Okay, you put always the variable term. Let's start putting it first, even though this is not a mistake. Okay, now that I have x equals minus 3y plus 6, I don't even care how this thing looks. It's going to look ugly, which is fine. Now, what we can do is we can write down our second equation, and that goes how? 7x plus 8y equals 3. Now, instead of this x, guess what we're going to put? That's right. We're going to put whatever we discovered x was. So now we're going to write down 7 instead of x. 7 times x plus 8y equals 3. Now, instead of this x, we're going to write down minus 3y plus 6. This is what you call a substitution. We're going to substitute. I'm going to write down sub, okay? Substitute. It's equivalent. Now we do our Superman thing, our multiplication, okay? Distribution of 7 into this parenthesis. 7 times minus 3 is negative 21y. 7 times 6 is positive 42 plus 8y equals 3. Now, there's no more x's. Look at that. They're all gone. So now we can solve for y. Now, combine like terms. Okay, so we're going to combine. We're going to combine the minus 21y and positive 8y. So 21 minus 8 is 13y. However, there's a negative sign here. Plus 42 equals 3. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do our thing. We subtract 42. Okay, so now we're looking at negative 13y equals negative 39. Okay, now divide both sides by whatever this number is, multiply by y, that is negative 13. Don't forget the negative, okay? Negative 13. Negative divided by negative is just going to be 1y, or simply y equals, here, negative 39 divided by negative 13 is a positive 3. So now I'm going to write it as this. I'm going to kind of underline, highlight that y equals 3. Are we done? No, we're not done because we don't know what x is. So how do you find x? Okay, so I'm going to write down here. Now, find x. Now that you have the y, so here's how our answer is going to look like already. Answer is going to look something like this, comma, 3. I put 3 here because x comes first alphabetically, then y. Okay, so y equals 3, good. Now we need to find x. I'm going to zoom out and just give you what we've done so far. And look here. X equals negative 3y plus 6. So I'm going to write it right here. X equals negative 3y plus 6. What was our y again? Our y was positive 3. So I'm going to write down x equals negative 3. Instead of y, I'm going to put times positive 3 plus 6. Now we're just going to solve it. X equals negative 3 times 3 is negative 9 plus 6. X equals negative 3. Wow, how cool is that? So now our x equals also negative 3. Now we're just going to pop this thing in the answer here. So what's our answer? Negative 3 comma 3. And we're done. Number 27. 2x minus 2x minus 2y equals minus 10. 8x plus y equals 5. The easiest to solve for is whatever stands alone is in equation 2, y, okay? So we're going to get equation 2 and we're going to tell it solve for y because it's easiest, okay? It's not the only way, but it's the easiest. 8x plus y equals 5. Guess what we do next? We subtract 8x from both sides. So now these 8x's are gone. Y equals 5 minus 8x. Again, I prefer you to write down 8x, negative 8x in the front. Y equals negative 8x plus 5. You want to switch it. You want to put the variable term in the front. This is not wrong. This is just looks better, even though right now it's kind of ugly. But either one is fine. Look, now we're going to get equation 1 and substitute in negative 2x minus 2y equals minus 10. Now, instead of y, guess what I'm going to put? Instead of y, I'm putting negative 8x plus 5. How cool is that? Now, negative 2x. Then we distribute. We basically take this negative 2 and multiply it by the entire parenthesis. Negative 2 times negative 8x is going to be plus 16x. Negative 2 times 5 is minus 10 equals negative 10. Now we need to combine like terms. Positive 16 and negative 2. Okay? 16x and minus 2x gives you 14x equals, I'm sorry guys, 14x minus 10 equals minus 10. Next step is to add 10 to both sides. We want to move the variables, we keep the variables on one side, move the constants to the other side. Look what's happening. 14x equals 0. Uh-oh. 14 times what equals 0? Well, we divide both sides by 14. 0 over 14 is x equals 0. This is done for x. Now we need to solve for y. So what I would do is I would pick any of the equations. I think the easiest equation to work with is the bottom one, equation 2. So I'm going to write it again. I'm going to box it off, and I'm going to write down for equation 2. I'm going to copy this like this. 8x plus y equals 5. Okay? Now, we know that instead of x, we can put down a 0. So it's going to be 8 times, instead of x, 0 plus y equals 5. 8 times 0 is 0. 0 plus y equals 5. Or simply put, y equals 5. Okay, so x is 0, y is 5. So here's our answer. X is 0, y is 5. Okay, and I'm going to mark it here. You don't have to do that. X and y. But I would like for you to do is to go fancy and bubble or cloud, whatever this thing is. There you go. That's how you do it. Now, question 40. In here, you have to solve the system by both graphing and then substitution. If you want to do substitution first, it's fine with me. But let's stick with what the requirements are saying. First, you got a graph. Now, I'd say the fastest way to graph something like that. Look, it's not in slope-intercept form. You can make it slope-intercept form if you want to. The fastest way to graph it, in my opinion, is by picking points. And I'm just going to start with intercepts. You're going to pick x equals 0 first and see what y is. So in our case, y minus, instead of x, we're going to put 6 times 0 equals 3. All right, so now y minus 0 equals 3, or simply put, y equals 3. So my first point for the green equation, I wrote this in green, first equation, is going to be 0, 3. Right here is my first point for the green equation. Now, we're going to do the same thing, but in this case, you can actually pick x to be 1 or something, or whatnot. I would say, let's pick y to be 0 next. So I'm going to put y is 0. Look at this. Y is 0. And what will be x? It's 0 minus 6x equals 3. Simply put, negative 6x equals 3. We divide both sides by 6. And you're getting what? I'm sorry, by negative 6. And you're getting x to be negative 1/2. Now, this is a little tricky because you can't really spot a negative 1/2. So if x equals negative 1/2, y should be 0. So you should have a point right here. Okay, so that's your first equation. Oops. Then you connect the two dots and you get a nice straight line. So this is my first equation. Now I'm going to do the same procedure, same process for the second equation. I wrote it in red ink so that you can color code it, you can see how I color coded it. I'm going to do the same thing. If x equals 0, then you're going to get negative, and I'm going to put here 0 plus 2 equals negative y. Now, negative 0 is 0 is the same thing, so basically 2 equals negative y, or simply put, you need to divide both sides by negative 1. So now, guess what? Negative 2 equals y, so y equals negative 2. This is our first point. All right, x is 0, y is negative 2. So I'm going to go ahead and graph that point. Again, x 0, 0, comma, negative 2. 0, comma, negative 2. So here's my red point, my first red point. My second point for red is going to be here, 0. And now is going to be negative x plus 2 equals 0. Okay? Now, we need to solve for x. So we need to move the 2, subtract 2 from both sides. Negative x equals negative 2. We're almost there. We don't like the negative in front of x, so we can divide both sides by negative 1, and you're going to get x equals positive 2. So I have my point here. My red point is going to be, my other red point is going to be 2 comma 0. So 2 comma 0 is right here. Okay, so now I have my 2 points, and I'm going to go ahead and connect the 2 red dots. So now that I've graphed both of my lines, the point of intersection will be right here. Okay, and so the point of intersection is, here's your answer, negative 1 on the x-axis, and down you go on the y is negative 3. So that is your answer if you're solving it graphically or using the graph. Now we're solving this algebraically. And notice that I put here the answer already because I know the answer is going to be negative 1 comma negative 3. It means x is negative 1, y is negative 3. However, this is from the future. I don't know this yet. I mean, I do because I graphed it, but we're not graphing this one. We're doing it algebraically. Again, here we've got y minus 6x equals 3. So I'm going to label it as equation 1. And this one's going to be my equation 2. Now, easiest thing to do is to work with equation 1. So I'm going to rewrite it here again. So check this out. Equation 1 goes something like this. Y minus 6x equals 3. So to solve for y, I'm going to be solving for y. I'm going to add 6x to both sides. Now, this 6x and this 6x are gone. So y equals 6x plus 3. That's my y. Okay, solved it. Fantastic. Now, option 2, equation 2, negative x plus 2 equals negative y. And my y was, I'm going to put the entire parenthesis here, okay? Negative 6x plus 3. Okay, almost done. Now, we need to open parentheses. It's negative x plus 2 equals. Now, if there's a negative in front of a parenthesis just by itself, then every single sign in front of inside the parenthesis needs to change. Positive 6x turns into negative 6x. Positive 3 turns into negative 3. Now we're looking at variables on each side. Okay, so you need to move the smallest. I always do this. Move the smallest. Okay, in this case, the smallest one is actually negative 6x. So what we're going to do is we're going to add 6x to both sides. All right, so negative 6x and positive 6x cancel. So negative x plus 6x, think about it as positive $6 minus $1 is 5x plus 2 equals negative 3. Now, you know the drill. Subtract 2 from both sides. 2's are gone. 5x equals negative 5. And last step, we are dividing by 5. So 5x divided by 5 is just going to be x equals negative 5 over 5 is negative 1. Voila! What did I tell you? X is negative 1, just what we got when we graphed it. However, this is not it. We need to find out algebraically, and spoiler alert, y equals negative 3. Negative 3, or value of y. Okay, we don't know it yet, don't cheat. So now we need to go back and plug that value of x into any of these equations. I would say probably be better to stay consistent and use equation 1. So I'm going to write down y minus 6x equals 3. Okay, and instead of x, I'm going to put -1. Okay, there's a multiplication sign, so y, and -6 times -1 is +6 equals 3. One more step, and we are done. Subtract 6 from both sides. And watch this. Watch magic. Y equals -3. 3 minus 6 is -3. Voila, we get this. Write down your answer. X is -1, y is -3. Close parentheses. Problem solved. What a tough example. Question 48. I'm not going to read it for you. Actually, just kidding, I will. The difference of two numbers is 3. Their sum is 15. Find the numbers. We don't know the numbers, so usually what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and call it x and y. Okay? So I'm going to write down let x and y be the two numbers. Right? Let x and y be the two numbers. Well, difference means subtraction and sum means addition. So we know that x minus y equals 3. But I know that their sum, x plus y, equals 15. Wow, now we have a system to solve. Yep, same thing. Equation 1, equation 2. All right, the easiest probably be to solve equation 1 for x. Look, so I'm going to rewrite equation 1. Equation 1 goes something like this. X minus y equals 3. Now, to solve this for x, I'm going to simply add y to both sides. So now you're looking at x equals y plus 3. So that's my x. X is y plus 3. Now, I'm going to bring in equation number 2. Equation number 2 states this. X plus y equals 15. So I'm going to go ahead and write down x plus y equals 15. Instead of x, I'm going to write down y plus 3. So now we're looking at y plus 3 plus y equals 15. Okay? Y plus y is 2y plus 3 equals 15. I'm going to move right here. 2y plus 3 equals 15. Subtract 3 from both sides. So 15 minus 3 is 2y equals 12. Y equals 6. We're almost done. We're almost done. So y equals 6, right? So it's right here. I'm running out of space because I am doing the demonstration here. So I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit and put a paper right here. If y equals 6, okay? Now let's take a look at the big picture here. First, our initial equations were x minus y equals 3, x plus y equals 15. So let's go ahead and use maybe second equation. Let's use the second equation here, and it goes x plus y equals 15. Now, we knew that y equals what? 6. So instead of y, we're going to write down 6. So it's going to be x plus 6 equals 15. Well, guess what? Subtract 6 from both sides. X equals 9. So the two numbers are 9 and 6. Now my 6's are really bad, so bear with me. Okay, truly 9 minus 6, I'm gonna put here 9 minus 6 is 3. 9 plus 6 is 15. We found them. Last example for the packet. We have a problem, another word problem. We'll have a lot of them, so let's start it. The senior classes at High School A and High School B plan separate trips to the county fair. The senior class at High School A rented and filled 10 vans and 9 buses with 625 students. High School B rented and filled 9 vans and 3 buses with 282 students. Each van and each bus carry the same number of students. How many students can a van carry and how many students can a bus carry? Okay, you don't see on this screen the text, but you have it in front of you. You can read it. You can read it a couple of times to just understand what's going on. So, High School A and High School B. Okay? Now, I'm going to say that V will represent the variable for vans, not shoes, but the vehicles. And B will stand for buses. Okay? So now let's go ahead and see this. Rented and filled 10 vans, which I'm going to put 10V. And means add 9 buses, 9B. With a total of how many students? 625 students. Now, High School B rented 9 vans and 3 buses carrying, so students in 9 vans and 3 buses together combined were how many? 282. Now, this is what I call a nice system of equations. Now we need to solve it, okay? This is a fun one. It's the biggest one. So I'm going to go in detail. See? Show your work. And this is what I'm going to do right now. Your favorite words. Show your work. So let's go ahead and rewrite it so that I can discard the top portion. So it's going to be 10V plus 9B equals 625. And here we get 9V plus 3B equals 282. There's a cool way to solve it. I'm not going to show it to you. It's not our 8th grade standard. Sadly, there's a cool way you guys are going to see next year. All right? Easy. You'll be doing these problems in 1 second. But, okay. So at this point, we are going to pick any equation and solve for easy variable. Okay? Pick an easy equation. Pick any equation, solve for easy variable. Well, I think intuitively, equation 2 will be the easier one to solve. I'm not saying it's the easiest. Maybe it's going to be completely wrong, but because the numbers are less. So I'm going to write down 9V plus 3B equals 282. Now, I'd say the best thing to do here is to solve for the smallest one. So I'm going to choose solve for B. Okay? Now, to do that, I need to subtract 9V from both sides. Okay? One from the left of the equal sign, one from the right. 9V's are gone, so we get 3B equals negative 9V plus 282. Well, since there's a multiplication here, guess what we're doing? We are dividing everything by 3. Yes, don't forget that every single term needs to be divided by 3. Watch how easy this is going to be. B by itself equals, look, negative 9 divided by 3 is negative 3V. plus 282 divided by 3. So I don't have I'll show you how to do it without a calculator. 282, we're dividing by 3. So how many times is 3 going to 28? 8 times. Actually, it's 9 times, sorry. 9 times. 9 times 3 is 27. 1, drop down to 2, is 12, okay? So how many times is 3 going to 12? 4. Minus 12, remainder is 0. So the answer is 94. So B equals 3V, negative 3V plus 94. I'm done with B, because now I know what B is, because I used equation 2. Now I need to use equation 1 and plug it in, okay? So equation 1 goes something like this. 10V plus 9 instead of B, I know what B is, equals 625. I know what B is. So instead of B, I'm writing down this, minus 3V plus 94. Now, we need to distribute, okay? We're distributing positive 9, which is nice, into this parenthesis. So it's going to be 10V minus, see, 10V minus 9 times negative 3 is 27V. Then it's going to be a plus, and 9 times 94, I'm going to write it on the side here, okay? 94 times 9. 9 times 4 is 36, so keep in mind that there's going to be a 3 in there, okay? 9 times 9 is 81, plus 3 is 84. So the answer here is going to be plus 846 equals 625. Combine like terms. 10V minus 27V, look at this, how cool is that, is going to be negative 17V plus 846 equals 625. All right. Now we need to get rid of a constants here. Subtract 846 from both sides. Okay. Now these two are gone. So negative 17V equals, this is 17, negative 17V equals. And now I'm going to do 625 minus 846. So 625 minus, it's late at night. 846 minus 625. I'm going to write it with a negative sign now. Now, guess what? 6 minus 5, 1. 4 minus 2, 2. 8 minus 6, 2. It's 221. Last step, divide both sides by negative 17. Okay? These two are gone, so we're going to find out how many people will be in one van. So V equals, and now when we divide, we are going to find out what V is. Okay? So check this out. 221 divided by 17. How many times 17 can fit into 22? One time. Minus 17. The answer here is 22 minus 17 is 5. Okay? Drop down this one. It's 51. How many times does 17 go into 51? 3 times. 7 times 3 is 21. Plus 2. 3 times 1 is 3. Plus 2 is 5. Perfect. I love it when the plan comes together. V equals 13. So basically, 13 people in a van. Okay, so that's our first part of the answer. Okay, so we know now the van holds 13 people. Now we need to find out how many people will fit in a bus. Okay, so I'm gonna have to use a second piece of paper. So right now, just take notes on this, see how we did this, see how I did this. Okay, And if you want to pause the video to copy down your notes, now is a good time. All right, so here we go. And now moving on to the next portion. Okay, I'm gonna lift this up a little bit. If v equals 13, now let's take a look again. Let's take a look again at the equations that we have. Okay, pick any of these two. My favorite one probably still be the second equation. So I'm gonna write down here equation 2, and we're gonna go like this: 9v plus 3b, 9 van plus 3 buses equals 282. Right, so now double check what was our answer for v. What was our v? V was 13. So now 9 times, instead of v, we're going to put 13 plus 3b equals 282. 9 times 13. 9 times 3 is 27. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 2 is 117, plus 3b equals 282. Now subtract 117 from both sides. Now we just, at this point, we're simply solving for b. So 3b equals 282 minus 117. I'm going to try to do it in my head. So 12. We borrow 1 from 8. So it's going to be a 7 now. 12 minus 7 is 5. 7 minus 1 is 6. And 2 minus 1 is 1. 165. Now we need to divide that by 3. Okay, divide that by 3. Okay, so these 3's are gone, almost the answer. B equals 16. Okay, now 165. So I'm going to show you how to do it. 165 divided by 3. How many times does 3 go into 16? 5 times, minus 15. The answer is 1. Again, 15. How many times 3 go into 15? 3 times. Minus 15. The answer is 0. Remainder is 0. So 53 people in the bus. Okay, so we can say 53 people in a bus. That's the second portion of my answer. And now to write down the answer properly, yes, I have to do that. Answer "53 people in a bus." And how many people are in the van? 13 people in a van. Done.